The Marvel is the much-awaited sequel to Captain Marvel from 2019, the newest film within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the third film within Marvel Phase 5 to be exact. And this latest entry within the Captain Marvel franchise is directed by Nia DaCosta, who made films such as her first feature film, Little Woods, which is a film that I actually have seen. And even though I don't have any real motivation to go revisit that movie, I did think it was a well-made movie on all fronts. And then after that, she made the Candyman reboot from 2021. And even though it's not the best Candyman movie, I still thought it was a well-made movie, and I was interested to see what she does next. And in this film, a follower of the Kree, known as Dar-Benn, she's trying to restore all the resources on the Kree planet after something within Carol Danvers' past caused them to lose all their resources. And now Carol Danvers must reunite with Monica Rambeau after decades of not seeing her, as well as meet Ms. Marvel. And the three of them have to work together after their powers get entangled with each other. Now, if you've seen my review of the first Captain Marvel, I've seen the movie a couple of times and reviewed it a couple of times. But if you've seen my review of the movie, you know how I feel about it. And you know how I feel about all the controversy around the movie and its star, Brie Larson. And going into this movie, it was going to meet that same amount of vitriol that was either rational or unrational. And whatever side you fall on, we can all agree that this is a low point for Marvel, both creatively and commercially. Now, how did I feel about the movie personally? Well, I liked it, but didn't love it. But don't think it's bad, but at the same time, all right, let's get into it. But basically what I'm saying is I had fun while I was watching it, but they're just going to keep making the same thing over and over again. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say I do like how they keep switching with each other. It does lend itself to some fun action scenes, particularly one in the first act of the movie. My eyes were glued to the screen, and I was having fun while I was watching it. I also enjoy watching the three ladies interact with each other because we've seen them individually, and now seeing them all together it is kind of reminiscent of the first Avenger, in which you see all these individual characters in their own franchises, and now they finally team up together, and you just knowing the history you have with them. It's basically like your cool friend meeting your other cool friend, and your two cool friends are cool with each other, and you just feel cool by association. And that's how I feel here. Brie Larson returns as Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. I thought Brie Larson was actually better on the acting front this time around, because in the first movie, understandably so, she didn't show but so much emotion, but it was a story-based reason for that. And then here it's like she'd done this before a couple of times actually, and so now it just feels like she's more relaxed, she can let loose, and she feels more in tune with the character than she did before. And there's some stuff within Carol Danvers' past involving the Kree Empire that gets dealt with within this movie. Teyonah Parris returns as Monica Rambeau, and yeah, she was the #1 reason why I really wanted to see this movie, because I love me some Teyonah Parris. But aside from that, she is a very talented actress, and I liked her introduction in WandaVision and was curious to see what they would do with her in this movie. And they do address the fact that, Auntie Carol didn't show up for decades, and Monica is a little standoffish to her for that. And so I like how they addressed it, but they only did but so much with it because there's so much going on in this movie that kind of fell to the wayside at a point, but they do resolve it by the end of the movie. But one thing I didn't like about this character is that she was basically there just to be the tech babble, which I'm cool with. I'm fine seeing any black character be the tech genius or the smart one, but at a point it's just like, all right, now you're just spitting exposition in the form of tech. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, is without a doubt the best part of this movie. And I like what they do with her in this movie because it's basically one of those never meet your heroes type thing, because she is a Captain Marvel fangirl, and when she meets her, she's excited at first, but then she's hit with the grim reality of being a hero. And there's a moment within the movie that they illustrate that, and I thought that they did that excellently. And I do like the rapport that she has with Carol Danvers, as well as Monica Rambeau. Nick Fury, I mean, it's cool to see Sam Jackson continue to play Nick Fury, but at a point, it just felt like he's just there. But the dynamic he has with Carol Danvers in the movie is still present, and I loved seeing it. Dar-Benn is played by Zoe Ashton, and ironically, her fiance is Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki. And don't worry, I'm going to get to that show another day. But I think it's just funny how, you got a couple releasing Marvel content at the same weekend. Kamala Khan's family is in this movie, and they were a bright spot in this movie because they were on the Ms. Marvel show, and seeing them here and just watching them interact with all the other characters in this movie, it was a bright spot for me. And it keeps in line with the family aspect of Ms. Marvel. Now, there's a sequence in this movie involving cats, and I was enjoying the movie up until that point, but then once it got to that point, I was just like...
So this is what we doing now?
There's even a musical sequence that everybody is making a huge deal out of, talking about. It lasts 10 minutes, and honestly, it really was not that bad. It was not as long as y'all making it out to be, and it wasn't even that bad. In fact, I have no problem with musical sequences where you don't expect it, because one of my favorite episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is called Once More with Feeling, which someone casted a spell where everyone is communicating through song. And that's how I feel with here, because it's basically a planet where everyone is communicating through song. The only problem I really have with it is that they really didn't do enough with it. Now, maybe they didn't do that because maybe they thought maybe that'd be too much, or they just were a little uninspired. They just thought, hey, let's just have everybody sing. Had it been in James Gunn's hands, I think he would have done a little more with it. Now, look, I really was enjoying this movie, but my issues I have with this movie is that it just feels a little episode of the week-ish. And it's definitely convoluted. There's a lot of plot points going on that they all just don't mesh well, and the timid runtime of 2 hours just doesn't help either. You can tell this movie had a lot of reshoots, and it had a lot of restructuring and rebranding. In the end, I could definitely tell this movie was made by committee. It doesn't even feel like Nia DaCosta had her hands on it. It's still a Marvel movie at the end of the day, and no matter how talented the filmmaker is, Marvel still has final say on what happens in the movie. And because of that, I'm going to still be excited for what Nia DaCosta does next as a filmmaker. But as for this movie as a whole, if Marvel was doing just fine, I'd give this movie a pass just for the enjoyment. But since Marvel isn't doing just fine, I can't just keep giving this movie a pass. That being said, like I said, there were things I enjoyed in this movie, and there are things I didn't enjoy or just didn't like about this movie, and I really was about to give this movie the thumbs down emoji because that's just me giving tough love to Marvel, but at the same time, Kamala Khan, all the universe-related stuff, and some cool action sequences, and some other good performances was enough for me to give this movie this rating. I'm gonna give The Marvels the shoulder shrug emoji.